Hey everyone, Steve here from Big Head Tech, and this video is happening for one reason. That's a good friend of mine is upgrading from a Ryzen 3 1200 to a Ryzen 5 2600. It's a system that I built him. Unfortunately, he lives a little bit further away and it's hard for us to meet up sometimes with our schedules. So, he's going to tackle this challenge himself. And while I'll probably video chat him to help him out, I figured, how about I make a short video on how to do it? And then I said, well, I think there's going to be a lot of you that might be doing that. You bought yourself a pre-built Ryzen 1st gen CPU. Graphics card memory is pretty easy, but sometimes CPUs are a little bit scary for some people. There's pins that you can bend, and if you don't do it right, you can end up with a very expensive doorstop. So today, what we're going to show you is essentially how to swap out a CPU on the AM4 platform. It's going to be the same across the board. The only difference is the CPU cooler might be a little bit different depending on your situation. I'm going to show you the two most common ones you'll run into, which is the stock air coolers. But let's show you how it's done. Before you do anything, you need to make sure that your BIOS is up to date and it can support the Ryzen processor that you purchased. So in order to do that, you want to Google search your motherboard. So in the case of the motherboard we are working with, that is the ASRock B450 Pro 4. And then you'll want to find their actual website, so this one right here. You'll want to find something that says support. Not on the top. You want to make sure it's actually for the product. Click on BIOS. And you can probably just grab the latest one, but at least the one for the CPU that it supports. So if you have like an Athlon 200 GE, you'd want to get at least this one. And I think that's probably the one we would need for the General 2000 series. But in this case, I would go ahead and download this. And what you'll want to do is take your flash drive, right click, go to Format, change this from NTFS to FAT32. Yes, we will erase everything on it. All right, now that the formatting is done, we're going to go ahead and copy this to the new flash drive that is formatted in FAT32. Then all you have to do is reboot and go into your flashing utility. That will vary from motherboard manufacturer. You will select the flash drive, this file. It's ideal if this is the only file on the flash drive. Let it flash. Do not reboot it. Do not turn off. Let it do its thing, or else you will brick the whole board and it will become useless. Once that is done, we can go ahead and take out the old CPU and install the new one. So let's take a look on how that's done. In most cases, if it's a pre-built, it's going to either have an AMD stock cooler like this or a Cooler Master variant. What you want to do first is remove this. You're going to need both side panels off. I have removed the GPU, but that's not always necessary, but it makes it easier. And these are tied down pretty tight. These are pretty loose. I just loosened them up. Now, the reason why I need the back panel off is because in this situation, the back plate's going to fall off. Okay. And as you heard there, it just fell off. You take your new CPU out and place it somewhere very safe. You can, if it's going to be pin facing down, make sure it's on the wood surface. You can also do pin facing up if you want to be careful. Take the old one and put it into the case you just took it out of. So in this case, this one's going to go in here like such. And what you're looking for is something gold on one of the corners. So in this case, you can see it right there on that corner. It's the only one that's gold. All the other ones are completely clear. And that is going to match up with an arrow. The arrow is almost always right here. So we'll give us a little turn. And what happens is all you have to do is line it up. It should take no force to go in. If part of it kind of goes in, sometimes I might tap it a little bit and it might drop in, but it should take next to no force. There we go. And then you'll take your new heatsink, which should have pre-applied thermal paste, so check. In this case, this doesn't. I'm going to be swapping this out, but make sure it has the pre-applied thermal paste here. And then in this situation, what I do is I grab the back plate, so I lift it up in a slight angle here, so I can get my hand under it. That way, I can rest it here, make sure it lines up here. The other thing is you're also supporting the board behind it when you go to do this. You'll have to kind of push down a little bit to get the line up. So that one's in. You want to definitely do these crossways here. There we go, that one's in. That one's in. There we go. And then now we can go all the way down here. These do have pretty hard stops. It's pretty evident whenever you do get that hard stop. There we go. You'll plug the fan into the CPU header. The other popular cooler type is the race style. Usually I take out the GPU, especially if it's in the top slots, it's easier. All you have to do is here is flip this up and then push down a little bit and you can free in that side. Just be careful, sometimes it'll pull the CPU up if you're not careful. So what I would do in this case is once it's free, twist it a little bit, make sure you break free. Pull that out, and then same concept as the previous. We will pull this out. I'm actually going to put this in here for a few minutes. So we are closing that up. Then we're going to grab our other CPU. This is the other legacy gold triangle you might see. Still has to line up with the arrow down here. And that's what the arrow looks like. Then we will we're in there. There we go. There we go. And this over to here. And that's how you upgrade your processor. Hopefully you guys liked it. I'll put this and this in the description below. Either one could be a decent buy depending on your goals. Like the video if you liked it. Dislike, leave a comment, get subscribed. And as always, this is Steve from Big Head Tech. By the way, buying these does help me out. I do get a kickback. And I'll see y'all later on down the road.